Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and business owners. Now, on today's show, we're going to be discussing the easy ways to implement practical strategies that can be used to attract more clients quicker and easier than ever before. Sounds really appealing, doesn't it? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Joining me in the studio today is Dilys Guyon. She's an international sales and marketing leader, coach and speaker. Dilys, it's lovely to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
So it's quite obvious then that you're either going to be French or you're going to be Welsh, with two names like that.
Well, no Welsh, no French connection. Actually from a little village in the northeast of England.
The powerhouse of the country.
Powerhouse, yeah. So a good Geordie lass. But I've lived in Oxford for the last 29 years. As you can tell, you know, that I've refined this Oxfordshire accent.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about you before we get into, because obviously a lot of business owners are going to be watching this and they're going to be thinking to themselves, you know, fundamentally what I want to do with my business is attract new clients. Without new clients or without a stream of new clients, a business isn't a business, it's a hobby.
Yes.
How did you get into it? Where did you start? Why should I listen to you?
Right, well, I started, actually, if you cut me in two, I've got sales and marketing running through me like a stick of rock. It's just what I have always done. Even as a young teenager, I was selling cosmetics and jewellery and so on. But my proper career started in the bank, and I left and had my children, went back on a part-time basis and was approached by the financial services side of the bank to become a financial advisor, and I thought, oh my goodness, selling insurance, I'd absolutely hate it. Anyway, when a colleague was talking to me about it, and she said, you know, you would really love this, and I'd thought, you know, this could be quite a nice little part-time job. What a big mistake that was, far from part-time. So I started as a financial advisor with Barclays Financial Services. I was promoted after 9 months to field sales manager, and then about 5 years later to regional director. So I was running or managing 70 advisors, 7 field sales managers, and responsible for all of the bank branch targets in my region.
So this was effectively, fundamentally, it was a sales job then. You were having to grow the business. Well, let me ask you the question. I mean, you came in this morning and we were talking to you, and do you become a salesperson or are you born a salesperson? Is it nature or is it nurture?
I think you can become a salesperson. I think you can learn the processes and the strategies and so on to become a very good salesperson.
So what do you offer then businesses when you go into them? What's the things that you're talking to them about? You were working in the bank, you leave the banking industry to go on your own, which is really, you know, you're using the skills that you've got then as a salesperson to generate and market your own business. So what did your business do?
Well, I would say that what I do for businesses is slightly different in that I look at the whole process. And what I mean by that is, it's no good being brilliant at attracting clients, in other words, the prospecting and marketing, if you can't convert them into a client. Neither is it any good being great at converting clients if you don't have enough prospects to convert. And then once you've got them and you've put all of that work in, it's really important to have retention strategies in place that have these clients stay with you, because there is no doubt competitors will be snapping at the heels and trying to poach your best clients. And then added to that is the mindset. So it's really important that I work with clients to help them overcome that negative chatter that sometimes goes on.
But we all feel that, don't we?
Yes.
We all feel we can't do it some days.
Yeah.
And then there are salespeople that you meet that are out there and you think, you're not really running on a full cylinder. You're missing reality here. But yet they are terrific salespeople because they seem, maybe it's that thick skin approach, isn't it? They don't mind, they see a value in the word no, and they don't take no for an answer.
Well, that's true, but certainly from my experience, what I see with even some of the good salespeople is that they will, as I refer to it, pay too soon. In other words, they will product dump too soon. So even in the marketing, they talk about the product, service, features and benefits or the company, and as soon as they get face to face with someone, the moment they see an opportunity to start and sell, they're into selling mode. And actually that's not what good selling is about. Good selling is about having the client at the heart of everything that you do, that it's this 100% customer focus.
So you go into companies and you talk to them, and you must, obviously from your experience there, you must see that what we're all trying to do, we're so keen, aren't we? That's what it is. Keen. We're keen to get the next client on board. So we do tend to jump very quickly. We see this sometimes on LinkedIn. We see it on Twitter as well, on that platform. The moment somebody links in with you, you're selling straight away. You're not building an ongoing relationship. You mentioned a moment or so ago about the business plan. Do you think we plan very badly in business?
Generally, I would say yes. I think that
but you're an ex-banker, really, aren't you?
I know.
What they know.
Yes, exactly. But I see people will start with the best intentions. So they will put a plan together, but often it's not written. So they have it in their head, and then they deviate from it, and they never ever go back and revisit that plan. And those who, and just going back to this, the importance of writing it, Harvard Business School did some research and showed that the graduates who had left, only 3% of them had a written plan, but they earned more than the other 97% put together. So it's really important to have a written plan and work it, use it. It's not something that you just write and then put away in the drawer or file in your computer. You know, this should be a working document that's revisited and used, and a strategy that says this is what we're going to do. This is who our ideal client is. Let's look at the research that we've got from that and understanding that client.
Now, when this all happened to you, you're working in the large banking industry. Under your own volition, you decided to leave that particular industry and set up on your own. So you went, as you described to me outside, you went from boardroom to bedroom.
Very much so, yeah.
In a matter of weeks. And there you are, you're sitting in the bedroom. When you sat down to write your business plan, how long did it take you to identify what the business was?
What, in terms of my business?
What you were going to do, what the service was you were going to sell,
right.
what the actual bit. Because I sometimes wonder if some businesses get lost in the mechanics of business, but sometimes lose sight of what the business really is.
Right. I knew very clearly what I was going to do. I in fact started as sales and sales management. And the marketing came slightly later than that, but that was my focus. But the other thing I had to think about very clearly was, who am I going to work with? Because I had to earn. I was a single parent with 2 teenage children, with a mortgage and all of the associated bills. And so I knew I had to work with businesses that could pay and would pay. And so I decided to go straight into the blue chip market. And
somebody once said to me, if you haven't heard of them, don't approach them.
Right.
And I know that's because the thing is, you drive onto any industrial estate, there are going to be multi-million-pound companies there, large organisations that you've never heard of. So, I mean, how did you define who the customer was going to be?
Well, my background was in financial services.
So you knew them anyway?
For a lot of years, so I understood.
Remember me? I used to threaten to close you down. I was going to remove your loan.
Well,
I'm back.
No, I was in the area where I was putting this safety net in place for individuals, for businesses, that would, when I was in financial services, helping them to maintain the standard of living if their income stopped for whatever reason. And I was like an evangelist. Honestly, I was like the Billy Graham of life assurance, because I was so committed to getting this financial safety net in place. And then when I came and started my own business, actually that passion and enthusiasm carried on, because I had seen my father go bankrupt. And, you know, it's no joke. We had the official receivers come in, they itemise everything, and we were distraught. And they were very kind to my mother, and they said, if you can find £300, you can buy back your essentials. And so she did that. She borrowed £300 and bought back all of our essentials. But it was the most traumatic thing. And because my father he was ill and he had no protection, he had no income protection or anything like that, to fall back on, to be able to bring someone in to manage the business during his illness, he ended up going bankrupt, and we had to move out of our lovely house, 30-mile view across the valley and a drive and steps and all the rest of it, to a council house. Nothing wrong with council houses, by the way, but there is when you don't want to go. And because he was a bit of a drinker anyway, and when it came to it, he just went off the scale, and we ended up leaving him and going to the council house on our own, and he ended up in my grandfather's garden shed for 2 weeks. I mean, I can hardly tell you the story. It was so heartbreaking. And in a caravan for 3 years.
But I mean, I suppose like many entrepreneurs that are in your position, there is always this epiphany moment, isn't there? Maybe it came early in your life and you've been able to draw on it. I mean, that's interesting. That shows where the drive perhaps and the determination comes from. And we're going to talk more about what the services that you provide to businesses and the mistakes that businesses make, because it seems that and I know, in fact, the story you were telling there, I mean, I wasn't very well a couple of years back, and all of a sudden you start seeing the same parallels, but luckily, you know, we were prepared and we kind of got away with it. But you know, it's quite easy to go from hero to zero, isn't it? And we've all got to be very mindful of that.
Yeah.
You're watching Business Connections Live, and it's going to be an interesting program today. International sales and marketing leader, coach and speaker. We've got Dilys Guyon with us today on the program. We're talking about how you attract brand new clients. That's all to come on this edition of Business Connections Live. Crikey, that must have been heartbreaking. I could see you going there, so I thought better to move away from it, because that was a really very difficult time. Now listen, last week, if you were watching the program, you would have seen that we had our program where we were looking at the ramifications of being in or out of the EU, and it's been quite interesting. People that you would never imagine voted out are out, and you know, we're now going through a process today as we are speaking. We've got Jeremy Corbyn, of course. He's just announced his brand new cabinet this morning. Somebody described it as he's now scraping the bottom of the barrel. He's running out of people to actually ask to be in the shadow cabinet, which is a dreadful situation, not just for the Labour Party but also for British politics, to be finding ourselves in that position. We've got a split, so it seems, in the Conservative Party about whether it's in or whether it's out. And I don't know about you, but I'm now finding myself in two minds about what the referendum achieved. I'm beginning to feel that we've got a real opportunity here. This is just a personal view, but a real opportunity now to make the country, it's already great, just to make it even better. We've got a real opportunity to do that. Now on the show, and we've got to stop talking it down. If we're out, as Mickey Flanagan would say, we're out. So let's get on with it. Let's let the EU reform itself. We've got to stop them bullying us. We've got to. You know, they wrote, was it the treaty, was it Clause 50?
Yeah. Article 50.
Article 50. They wrote it, and now they're saying you're going to do it straight away. Listen, you wrote the rules, we're following the rules. So listen up, Brussels, we know what we're doing. So we've got to do that. We've got to be in control of our own destiny. And it was interesting last week's programme. We had a couple of the Chamber of Commerce that were in. We had one that was remaining neutral, that was the Surrey one, and also we had the Cambridge Chamber, who were very definitely supporting that we remain in there. We also had a gentleman called Antonio Falco. Antonio Falco was on the programme a few weeks back. He said, do we need a fairer tax system for SMEs? Are UK businesses getting a rough deal from the HMRC? Do we need a fairer tax system? Deals by international corporations with the HMRC are rattling SMEs and UK business. Of course, we saw this, that there's been another agreement over the weekend. I think, if my memory serves me right, this time I think it's with Google. They've come to another agreement with them that they don't have to give any of the tax or something like that. It was one of the large... if it wasn't Google, I apologise to everybody at Google straight away. Instantly our website goes swallowed in the rankings. We're page 153. Anyway, and Antonio makes a difference. Antonio was on the programme. He actually challenged the Chancellor about the rules that small businesses have to obey, and he felt that they're not the same as they are for the larger corporates. Just to remind you what Antonio said, it was a great debate last week, but this was a great show too. Do we need a fairer tax system for small to medium scale enterprises? Have a look at this. We're going to be talking about the need for a level playing field for small businesses. My guest on today's show is Antonio Falco, Small Business Champion and Surrey Federation of Small Business FSB.
I'm a business consultant. I specialise in helping companies with sales and business development. How on earth are we going to get the next customer in the door? What's our process? How are we going to do it? What do we need to say? It is about an art and a science to finding new customers and show them that your product or service does what it says. I was just lucky a couple of weeks back to be in a situation where I was at a conference that was put together by the FSB, and I got the opportunity to ask the Chancellor a question. Chancellor, my name is Antonio Falco. I'm the Regional Chairman for Surrey and West Sussex. You mentioned in your opening remarks that small businesses pay their taxes. You're absolutely right. And my personal company tax bill was way more than Facebook's. You see where I'm going with this? So here's the thing. We all know this is a sophisticated group. We all know that 3%, which has been the headline figure for Google, is not reality. Corporation tax is 20%, but it just makes a great story. And we don't want to pretend here that the businesses here aren't trying to mitigate their tax liability themselves by making the gap between the income and the profit as big as possible. So nobody's going to lie that we're not trying to do that. Of course we are. But my point is this. All I want is in business, and as you said yourself, being in business is tough. And I don't mind being in a tough game. All I want is the same rules. You wouldn't have a game of football with one half playing one set of rules and the other half playing another set of rules. That's all we're asking for. And as for HMRC, my colleague made a comment there, can we have a little bit of manners and respect for small businesses? You know, they talk to people, and I haven't had a case in this, I hear a lot of my customers have, they talk to people in a manner which is, frankly, in the modern era, is unacceptable. And so a bit of respect and the same rules would be great.
Many of the companies you're talking about and have been in the press are American companies, right? We need more of these British companies, right? You know, we need British companies growing and succeeding on the internet and in the new technologies, and I'm putting every effort into trying to nurture those companies so that Britain has these big names out there that you work with in your business and personal life, just like we've got those big American companies.
The first thing is that whilst we're all a little bit upset and a little bit angry and a bit sort of annoyed as to how on earth some of these corporations are getting away with doing what they're doing, first thing, it's not illegal what they're doing. Small businesses seem to be more obliged to pay their taxation, whereas corporations have the ability, the resources to avoid as much of it as they possibly can. So government has to play a part in this and look at how they can simplify the tax system and how they can look at some of the loopholes that are clearly being exploited by some of these corporations. You see, in business, what are we trying to do? We're trying to exchange our product or service for a potential customer's money. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make that exchange. It's a simple journey, but a complex one at the same time. We've talked about that in previous shows. Well, you know what? If you don't like what Facebook are doing, there's two things you can do. One, use social media against them. Tell them what you think. Use what they put in place to tell them what you think. And the second thing is, stop using them. And there is no 100% end solution to this. I'm just asking people to think. I'm just asking people to say, hold on a second, what I'm doing is not wrong, but actually what I'm doing isn't necessarily right either. And all I'm just saying to corporations is this, that you're part of our fabric. I say this a lot, Steve. Small businesses are critical to the economy, not just because they're critical to the economy, but because they're actually a part of the fabric of their local society. And what I want to say to corporations is that you're part of the fabric of this society. My name is Antonio Falco. I'm a small business champion. And I'd like to say to you that whilst everything you've heard may upset you, anger you, or make you question what on earth is going on, let me tell you this. In your own business, just remember to focus on the things you need to do day in, day out. There's always going to be controversy around you. There's always going to be something that makes you cross or upset and you think that it's all against you. But actually, don't let that avoid you doing the things you need to do to build your business. It's good to pay tax. Do you know why? Because it means you've made profit. And so if you want to run an effective and profitable business, just focus on the things you need to do day in, day out, be consistent and persistent. Remember, selling is about exchanging your product or service for a potential customer's money. Incredibly simple, fantastically complex. You have to be consistent and persistent and focus on your goals.
It was a fascinating show, actually. If you get an opportunity, do see it. There was one line in it where he said, of course, to the Chancellor, he said, look, I don't mind playing by the rules. It's a bit like a game of football, but both sides have got to be playing the same rules at the same time. And he felt that small businesses, to a certain extent, when it is compared to large businesses, aren't playing by the same rules. Antonio Falco, he was on the programme last week as well when we were discussing the EU referendum. He was very firmly for in, and it looks like he got his wish, he got his way. And be interested, we'd love to hear your comments as well when it comes to how you feel the EU referendum went. If you're watching us on YouTube, of course you can leave them below. If you are Mr. Juncker and you're watching the programme, leave your comments below. We don't care what you say anymore. So you can do that. Even if you're watching on Facebook, we'd love to hear your comments. And in fact, if you do have any questions or anything like that for Dilys, then you can, of course, leave a message there. There's the Facebook address, facebook.com, Business Connections Live. Go to our business page and do tell us that you're enjoying and like the programme. But if you do go, leave a comment. Tell us what you think. What advice have you got if you're a small business owner? Let us know. This is all about being a business community here in the UK. We've got a lot of work to do. Let's grow this country and our businesses to make them successful internationally. I bet the Americans can't wait to come in and be buying up all our utilities companies and things like that. I mean, we are in for one heck of a ride. So, as they say at Disney, keep your elbows in. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have you with us on today's programme. Joining me in the studio is Dilys Gayan. She's an international sales and marketing leader, coach and speaker. Today we're talking about attracting new clients. Before the break, we were talking about your father. Retrospectively, looking back, I know the family got back together again, but looking back, were there any lessons you learned from him, do you think?
Massive lessons in that I could see he was an expert in what he did. Because it wasn't just the illness, it was also that his business was going down because he didn't, although he was expert in what he did, he wasn't an expert in sales and marketing. He didn't know how to get the right message out to the right people in the right way. And so you had this combination going on. And I see this over and over again with business owners that I work with who are really brilliant at what they do, but they're lacking that skill of attracting enough prospective clients and then converting them into high-paying clients that will give them repeat and referral business. And in fact, there was some really good research from Simply Business, and what they found was that 80% of businesses will go down within the first 5 years. Now that is tragic, absolutely tragic.
But is that because you've got people that are going into business and what they've got is they've got the best mousetrap, and as you say, they don't know about how to market it, how to sell it, how to deal with customers. And to be honest with you, I think it's very easy for businesses, even just the wind of change, and there's a lot of businesses out there that will have reliance on maybe too small a pool of clients and customers, and you must see that, and you'll see people who are in your situation that will leave a large financial institution. You may be lucky, bring either the financial institution with you or one of their major clients, and all of a sudden you've got an income stream.
Yes.
And if that income stream walks away, you are up the Swanee, not just without a paddle, but without the canoe as well, aren't you?
Oh, completely. And, the peaks and troughs of cash flow that a lot of businesses experience is crippling. Not just in terms of the running of the business, but for them personally, and the stress levels and the anguish of worrying about, where am I going to get the money from to pay the payroll?
We see lead times. We see lead times on clients, new clients. The lead time has got to be between 3 and 4 months. That's the lead time from the time you start talking to the time you start making money, from about 3 to 4 months. And we were talking to somebody else who will be on the program in the future. I won't say his name for the moment. And he said to me on Friday, we were having this discussion, and he said, any time scale that you have in your head, double it. So if you think you're going to see business from a company in 6 weeks' time, it'll be 12 weeks' time.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to see money in your bank in 12 weeks' time, it'll be 24 weeks' time.
Yes.
And you've really got to start doing that. But I suppose, is that because we're just old hands now at business?
No, I think, you know, a lot of businesses now, you're not just... there are businesses within the business, if you like, in terms of, you know, you've got different departments that have to get sign-off. And so, you know, the sales cycle can be elongated. And when you have learnt the skills and you understand your client and understand the issues that they have and the impact of those issues in terms of time and money, you can leverage that, because you can talk about and ask them questions about what would be the consequences of delaying a decision. Because one of our greatest competitors is the status quo, where people go, oh, we'll just stick with what we've got. Let's just stay with what we've got.
I have a question to actually ask at the moment as well. If you are the managing director or a CEO of a large multinational organisation, what is the problem with raising PO numbers? Why can't you do that? Why can't staff raise PO numbers? I hear it from so many small businesses, and they say, right, we'll do the work for you, and you'll get mandates coming from the organisation. We will do nothing unless we get a PO number from you. And yet it's the organisations who are asking people to do the work who will not raise the PO numbers.
Yeah.
Why can't they raise PO numbers?
I think it's this, you know, people are reluctant to make the decision.
Yeah. Now listen, you've got some rules. You've got rules. It makes it so, and I'm going to tell you off if you don't do this. There'll be a slap on the back. No, you've got some observations that you try to get over the businesses, and I think sometimes we work within our businesses and we get too close to what we're trying to achieve. We see the peaks and we see the troughs. We famine and feast when it comes to the invoice cycle. We've all been there. So where should we start? I know there are three cornerstones to what you talk about. Yeah. So now, but you do them in a particular order, don't you? You do them in reverse order. Ladies and gentlemen, at number 3 then.
Number 3 of the 3 biggest mistakes that I have seen over the many, many years, because I think I'm 27, but clearly I'm not 27. So, you know, over the many years. And I'll give you mistake number 3 first. And it's that business owners and salespeople that are selling to other businesses give up too soon. And what I mean by that is that they will make one phone call, or they'll send one email, or they'll send a letter, or they'll make one contact on social media, and they get a no, and they move on to the next prospective client. And the issue with this is that, well, eventually they'll end up like running out of prospective clients, but also it's when a prospective client says no, it doesn't mean no forever. It just means no, not right now. You know, so it's about maintaining that contact, and whether you've met them on social media and then you take that relationship offline, or you've sent them an email and you follow with a phone call, if it's no, then ask them if you can keep in contact.
So does no, in your mind's eye, have a value then?
Yes, it absolutely does. It does, because it's still that relationship. So if, for example, I was talking to you and you said to me, Dilys, no, not at the moment, then I would ask you, look, would you mind if I keep in touch? And I would send you valuable information and links, and I would just keep that touch going to create top-of-mind thinking and to position myself as the expert, so that when you did need my service, you would come to me. And I would make a phone call to you at different periods throughout the year, just to kind of put myself back on the map with you.
What kind of tools do you use to do that?
Well,
Are you one of these Confusionsoft people?
Yes, I am.
You are
yes,
Confusionsoft?
I have.
So you actually know how it works then? Well done, you must be the only one in the UK.
I use Entreport.
Oh, right.
But the principles are exactly the same. So,
and what we're talking about here, by the way, is a customer relationship manager,
yes.
a CRM.
Yeah.
So loads of lovely buzzwords there. If you're a small business, you're starting off, you need to be looking for a customer relationship manager because it can give you what? What tools will it give you?
Well, it allows you to send out emails, but personalised to your client base.
You can build a list effectively, and you can keep interacting with them.
Yeah, but I do it in two ways, Steve, because I've got that, as you've referred to, the CRM system, where I will send out articles. So I write articles of valuable information that people can actually read and then use and implement. But also, if I spot something, for example, just last week, I read this really interesting article online. It's called the Trust Equation, and we might talk about that today, actually. And I have sent that personally from my own personal email to my existing clients and my past clients. So not just my subscribers who are on my list, but to clients. And I get a fantastic response back just saying, Dilys, thank you very much for sending this. This is brilliant. I've sent it to various departments across the business. So, it's about being that the trusted advisor.
It's making you real, isn't it? Because there is nothing worse than receiving a load of email that you feel isn't being personalised to you, that isn't really for you, and you're just on a list somewhere and you're just receiving it. And so what you're doing is you're saying personalise it. It's interesting what you say as well. It says, I've got some figures here, it says 80% of sales are made between the 5th and the 12th contact. So really, just know, really, in your mind's eye, doesn't mean no. You also say that in giving up too soon, that they will identify the 67% of prospects who are not looking for their products or services but having multiple marketing strategy in place. They will attract more of these prospective clients. What does that mean?
Right. Okay, that's great. Thank you for bringing that up, Steve.
Well, it's written. You wrote it here.
Or did I write it down?
No, but it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I wish I had a flip chart, so I'll try and explain this the best I can just with my hands. So imagine a triangle, and at the top of that triangle, you've got 3% of your target market that are actively looking for your products or services. So there's 3% of people looking today for someone who can help them with the media, help them to make the videos and the process to make it streamlined. So you've got 3% at the top. At the bottom, you've got 30% who know that they never ever want your services in your target market. Underneath the 3%, you've got 7% who are aware of it, know they need it, but but are too busy at the moment to do anything about it. But they know they need it. So let me just give you an example. This is a bit random, really, but imagine a pregnant lady who is driving a sports car, two-seater, and she knows that when she has a baby, the sports car isn't going to be the right kind of car for her and her family. So she knows she needs a new car, but just not right this minute. She's going to carry on driving her car for as long as she can get her tummy in there. So she would fall into the 7%. Below that 7%, you've got 30. So we've now got 3%, 7%, 30%. Who know they need it, but actually, I'm not going to do anything just now. I'm really too busy. And also, this 30% don't understand the financial impact of not having whatever your product or service is. And then underneath that, you've got 30% who don't even know about you.
Okay.
And actually would really benefit, but are completely ignorant of the fact that your services are there.
Well, let's come back to that in just a few moments' time. You are watching Business Connections Live. And it's great as always to have you come in. That's a good story. That would do with the graph, wouldn't it? That a nice illustration would be good.
I've sent you one.
Have you? We'll get that on the screen then in just a few moments' time. Thank you very much indeed. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have you company. My guest today is Guyan, International Sales and Marketing Leader, Coach, and also a speaker as well. Incidentally, on next week's programme, we've got Steve Mills, the Prudent Marketeer, is going to be joining us. He's going to be talking about the dark arts of remarketing. Do you use remarketing?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Yeah, they're the ads that you find when you go onto a website. You'll do a search and you'll go to the website. The next thing you know, that particular company is following you around all over the place and you can't get rid of them. And that is remarketing actually working in front of your very eyes. You may see it sometimes, particularly if you use something like Gmail. You'll see the ads that are on Gmail will be remarketing ads that have come from something that you have previously looked at. How do you capitalise on that? How do you maximise your return on that? Steve Mills will be talking about that on next week's programme. He's a fascinating bloke. He's also an expert in LinkedIn. We've had him on the programme a couple of times. Just to remind you who Steve is, have a quick look at this.
My name's Steve Mills. I'm the Prudent Marketer. I help businesses to market themselves more prudently. I really hope that you take note and action based on those 5 key principles, the 5 C's. If you do, you're going to grow your business. If you need help with this, I'm just putting together a 5-month process based on the 5 C's. So if you want to know more, you can go to my website, which is theprudentmarketer.com, or you can call me on 01256 345 556. I'll be more than happy to have a no obligation conversation about how I might be able to help you to go exponential. Thanks very much for listening.
There you go. That's Steve Mills. He'll be on the programme with us next week on this edition of Business Connections Live. If you'd like to find out more about Business Connections Live, if you'd like a programme just like this one, don't forget you can always contact us here at Business Connections Live. Here it comes, all the details that you need. It is studio at businessconnectionslive.com. That's our email address. There it is on the screen right now. You can always send us an email. If you're watching on Facebook at the moment, don't forget you can leave a comment, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment. If you want... There's Facebook. I'm confusing him now. There's the Facebook connection. What about telephone number? Should we do that? Okay, telephone number 01784 256 777 if you'd like to communicate with us, maybe have a bit of a chat. And if you want to follow our train of consciousnness, then you can follow us on our Twitter account at BCL Business TV. So, you're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Guyan, International Sales and Marketing Leader, Coach, and also speaker as well. Great to have you with us today. We were talking about the triangle, which we're finding as we speak.
Marvellous.
Yeah, we're finding as we speak, and we hope to bring that to you. So, we've kind of said companies they give up too soon. 80% of sales are made between the 5th and the 12th contact. So that's rule number 3 in no particular order.
Yeah.
So prime rule number 2, what's that?
Right. Could I just give you some tips in terms of what to do?
Oh, absolutely, please, on number 3, yes.
On number 3. And I'll just give you a very quick story here as well of my own experience of a number of years ago, just to demonstrate how the multiple contact makes a difference. I was invited by email out of the blue to attend a conference in America. And it was very well written, so I did read it, but I didn't do anything about it, because you can imagine there's not many people would make the decision to go to America with all of the associated costs just from one email.
No.
So I got an email, then I got another email, then I got a direct mail piece, so a letter through the post, which I read and it sat on my bench. And each time I was getting a piece of marketing material from them, I was leaning forward and thinking, actually, this is quite interesting. Then I got a postcard. Then I got a telephone call. And on that telephone call, I made the decision to go, and in fact, my husband and myself went, so we paid for 2 flights, hotel accommodation, all of the associated costs for us to go to Orlando for this conference. Now, I would not have done that on that.
And was it just to go to the conference, or was it to participate in the conference?
No, I was going as a learning experience for me, because this is another thing that I would like.
So that's an investment then of £1,500, and while you're out of the well, more than that probably, and while you're out of the country, not earning any money anyway. So this is, you know, some corporates don't understand that, do they? When you're not here, you're not earning.
That's right.
So you're over there. What a huge investment.
Yes, and I only did it because they caught my attention and lit my fire. I always refer to it as raising my interest, lighting my fire, with the benefits that I would get from going. So it was very much, all of the marketing was focused on me and the problems it could solve for me and the benefits it would bring. And so I became more and more interested with each piece of marketing material. And so that's just a story to demonstrate how, you know, that is absolutely right. And then I read these statistics about 80% of sales are made between 5th and 12th contact. And in some of the bigger companies, you're looking at even more contacts.
So be persistent.
Yeah.
Keep in touch. Keep talking. No, never, ever means no.
It's no, not right now.
Yeah, and if we remember that, then we can move on.
Yeah.
So Brad Burton actually once said to me, he said a lot of businesses, what they do, they go through a process of no payday, no payday, no payday, no payday, no payday, and then they give up.
Yeah.
And if they would just hold on for a little bit longer, it'll be payday, payday, payday.
Yes.
But you've got to do that, and we've got to get out of this mentality. I mean, I hate it personally. You know, if somebody says no to me, why do you hate me? You know, and it's not that, is it? It's
No.
you're not right now.
Yeah.
And what I must admit, when somebody phones me, I do try to listen to what because I admire people that pick the phone up and do cold calling. I think that is probably the toughest job in the whole world. And when I say no, I suppose in my mind's eye, I'm always saying not right now.
Not right now, yeah. And so if you can remember that, and then have your different marketing streams, if you like, in terms of email, letter, telephone call, link, you know, make connections on social media, and continue with that. And at the same time, make sure that your messages are focused on the client, because nobody's actually interested in you or your product or your service, which actually leads us nicely into mistake
number two.
Yes.
Mistake. So we've had mistake number 3. They give up if you give up too soon, stop it. All right, stop it. Just keep contacting them. Contact them until they send people around to sort you out. That's what you got to do. So so that's number 3. Number 2, it's all about me, my company or my product, and then it says learn. So it's all about me, my company and my product. You hear this a lot, don't you? Are you talking about the aspect when people go in that they just sprout off about what their organisation, they just go on about the product and they don't hear the pain from the client, the potential client?
Firstly, the focus and the mindset is skewed in that a lot of people will think, right, how do I get the decision maker to say yes today? How can I convince them that we are the best? How can I get them to sign on the dotted line? How can I meet my targets?
How do I make that sale today, right now, this moment?
Yes.
I'm at a bus stop. I've only just met you. Do you want to buy this? It is that, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's turning that mindset around to be focused on the customer and say, right, how can I help my customer achieve their objectives, avoid pain? How can my company help support in that? How can I become the trusted advisor with my potential client, or your existing clients for that matter? When you change your mindset, your actions can follow. But until you change your thought process, your actions will follow whatever that is. Because
is that easy, though, for you to say, if you don't mind me being so bold? Because
Please be bold.
I'll be bold. You're in a successful, you run a successful business and you know you have clients there. The businesses that tend to do what you say they're doing, who are desperately selling, are desperate to get revenue. They're desperate to get sales in. So is it separating desperation from a system? If desperation is part of your sales technique, then you've got a bigger problem than just asking too soon.
I actually fundamentally think it's about understanding the value that you can bring, the benefits that you can bring, and moving away from I sell this widget with these features and benefits to saying these are the problems that can be solved with this widget. And this is the impact that it will have.
But this is sales, isn't it? This is selling. I mean, we call it, I suppose, it's selling the benefits, isn't it? And you know, coming from my background of shopping telly 100 years ago, that's exactly what it's about. It's identifying what the core benefits are. But there are some people out there to say that it's about finding your customer's pain, isn't it? And seeing if you've got something in your bag of tricks that can resolve that.
And you see, customers are becoming much more discerning than they've ever been. And it's mainly because of the, you know, of technology, because years ago, when you had the encyclopedia salesman or the vacuum cleaner salesman, they had to go and demonstrate their wares. Now, people, a click of a button, you've got your iPhone or whatever, you know, that you can immediately...
Other phones are available,
that you can go out and look at people's products and service features and benefits. They don't need you to come and product them. I mentioned earlier, I call this paying too soon. Clients and customers don't need that. They can go and look at all of that. They want someone who can bring added value, that can understand the business, to understand the world in which they operate in, understand who their customers are, understand who the competitors are, and bring in valuable insights. It's not enough just to be an expert in your product or service.
A lot of the time, though, the first contact we're going to have with our customer is going to be via email, or it's going to be the written word. Do we make the same mistakes when we're writing the emails? Is there a technique, is there a way that we should write our emails so that they feel that we understand their pain?
Yes, absolutely. You know, when I was talking about it's all about me, it's all about my company, this is threaded through from very first contact of either email, letter, telephone call or whatever. Let me tell you all about us, how long we've been in business, let me tell you about this wonderful product and so on. And then if they're lucky enough to get that face-to-face appointment, it's the same thing. Let me tell you all about it. And you've got to be customer focused right from the offset.
So when you go in, I find this really fascinating, because when you go in then, and I mean, we start the program by establishing who our guest is, and do you not feel there's a need then when you're going in to establish your credentials effectively to your potential client?
Yes, but it's a small part. It's just a small part.
Is it learning to shut up and listen?
Yes, and listen to understand, not listen to hear. Not listening.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to write that one down. Yeah.
Not listening and thinking, what's my next question going to be? But it's about, yes, of course, establishing your credibility, but you can do that by understanding and demonstrating how you understand, how much you understand.
You're making yourself an expert, effectively, aren't you?
I'll give you another example of this, Steve. As you would imagine, I've got a prospect list of clients who are my ideal client that I want to work with. So as well as working with financial services, I've also done a lot of work with pharmaceutical companies. And of course now, just to move forward very quickly, I work with a lot of SMEs, and I'll explain more of that later. But I put all of my prospective clients into google.com/alerts. I don't know whether you've come across that, so I'll say it again. google.com/alerts. And I put companies in, and what happens is you can get an alert, either daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you choose, telling you about what's happening in their world. And with this particular example, this pharmaceutical company, I got an alert saying they'd issued the financial report. And when I had a look in there, the chairman, was in the executive summary, was talking about how well they had done, up 25% year on year, which was phenomenal, because they were earning, you know, their turnover and the profit was huge. But he then said, but we have been negatively affected to the tune of 5% on currency fluctuation. So I literally cut and pasted that paragraph into an email. And I knew who the decision maker was. It was Dear Mark. I noticed in your recent financial report that your chairman, I've forgotten his name now, said, I work with companies just like yours, helping them to increase the sales revenue to mitigate that loss of the loss in the currency fluctuation. If this is of interest to you, please give me a call on or email me at. I had a response to that within the morning. I then went and had a meeting with them, and I said, Dilys, how did you know that? And I said, because I read it in your financial report.
And because you're an expert. Hold the thought. We'll come back to being an expert in the field in just a few moments' time. You're watching Business Connections Live. Hope you're enjoying today's programme. It's absolutely fascinating, really fascinating. And I think a lot of businesses forget all about how to position themselves as that expert in the field. And I love the whole idea. If you want to write that down again, it is google.com/alerts, and you just put in the company that you want to keep up the track on, and instantly you're getting this ongoing. And what a great idea.
I'll put your own name in and see what comes up.
No, I'm not going to do that. It's probably frightened me a little bit too much right now. But what a fantastic way of keeping abreast of what's going on in the industry, particularly if you're chasing a brand new client at the moment and you start using tools like that. Isn't it about the technology is there? Somebody once said, didn't they, about advertising, 50% of the advertising that I do doesn't work. I don't know which 50%. In today's modern world, you do know which 50% is working. In fact, you should know where every single penny of what you are spending, where it is working, where it isn't working, how to change it, how to upgrade it, how to make it different. I mean, that's what this is all about. It's using the tools that are out there. That's google.com/alerts. Have a look at that. That could save you a lot of time. By the way, if you are interesting or finding the program interesting and you're watching Dilys and you're thinking to yourself, blimey, she's skilled, I cannot make any claim at all to her level of competency when it comes to being interviewed on the TV, but how would you do? How would you do if you came onto the television? How would you do if you were presented by a radio interviewer, a reporter, a journalist? How would you do? What would you do? Would you make up company policy on the spot? Would you have some key phrases to use when you're presenting to them? Would you be able to handle the media? Would you be able to handle that interview? If you think that maybe you wouldn't, or you'd like at least the experience of finding out some of the techniques and the skills that are needed when it comes to handling the media, why don't you come on one of our training courses? Fantastic day out. 6 of you from one company makes a great team building day. But, 6 individuals, different companies. What you will be surprised about is that each of you that's on the training course will find that each of your organisations, regardless of how diverse they are, will actually have the same issues and the same problems when it comes to talking to the media, how to communicate the message that you're trying to get across. It's our How to Handle the Media training course. James Griffin from a company called Iris, he brought his team, his sales team and marketing team along. They were on the course for a day. They came away, they thoroughly enjoyed it. We absolutely ripped them to pieces while we were doing the show. They loved it. They absolutely loved it, and the lessons that were learned were phenomenal. Here's what he said about our training course.
I'm James Griffin from Iris Software, and my team have just completed the How to Handle the Media workshop. It was a really great course, it was really fun, and it was a really unique way for them to polish their presentation skills and learn how to answer difficult questions under pressure. So I'd highly recommend this to anybody that values those skills and really wants a great day out with their team.
Hello, you're back again. That's James Griffin there talking about coming on one of our training courses. If you'd like more details about coming on our How to Handle the Media training course, if you're watching this on Facebook right now, one of the things you don't do is you don't go, "Stop!" like that. Get in touch with us here. Here's the email address, studio at businessconnectionslive.com. If you just want to get in touch, just drop us an email. Tell us what you need. Tell us a little bit about your business, a little bit about your organisation. If you want to have a chat with us about it, then just simply pick the phone up and call us on 01784 256 777. If you want to follow our train of consciousness, of course, it is BCL Business TV, if you want to do that, and you'll find that, of course, on Twitter. And you can also leave your comments or get in touch with us through our Facebook page. Facebook, wow, what a fantastic marketing machine. For years, Facebook was just sitting there. It was for, here's a picture of my cat. As has YouTube become, here's a nice video of my cat. And all of a sudden, the power of the business Facebook page, I think, is phenomenal. The engagement that you are getting and the opportunity that you can get to micro-market and be an expert in your target industry's area is phenomenal. And as much as it pains me to say this, but a big advocate at the moment of how good Facebook is. Anyway, if you want to find out more about our media training course, do get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live. As always, we're up against the clock, and here we are. We're already nearly into our last segment. You are watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Dilys Gayan. She's an international sales and marketing leader, coach, and also a speaker. We've been talking about how to attract new clients. So far, it's amazing. We talk about 3 points. The 3 points can take an hour to talk about because they are so deep in what you're saying. Let me just remind you, if you are joining us just now, number 3, we're going in reverse order. Number 3, you give up too soon. That's your first mistake. The importance of having multiple contact strategy in place. 80% of sales are made between the 5th and the 12th contact. Remember that. A no doesn't mean no. It just means not right now. Number 2, it's all about me, my company, or my product. We've all been to websites. We've been established for 300 years. We've got 400 vans, 5,000 people working for us. I don't care. Do you make the widget that I need? That's what it's about. You're getting it the wrong way around. So that leads us neatly on then, I'd like to think, to mistake number 1. It's just the biggest mistake we all make. Yeah. Which is?
It's all tactics, no strategy.
All the gear and no idea.
Yeah.
Yes. All right then. So tell us, it's all tactics and no strategy. The difference, well, what is the difference between strategy and tactics then?
Right, a strategy is a plan to bring about a desired outcome. The tactics are the things you put in place to achieve the plan.
Right.
And so what happens is that people get engaged in, the next shiny object. So we'll do a little bit of social media, or we'll send some emails, or we'll make some videos. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of opportunities to get your message out there, different vehicles in which to use. But there's no strategy around it. They don't understand who their ideal client is, first of all. So it's marketing to everybody, and in fact you're marketing to nobody because it's too generic. Once you understand who your ideal client is, then you can get in the shoes. You can understand the world in which they operate. You can understand what their pain points are. You referred to pain points earlier on. So it's looking at saying, where are they now? What are the challenges? Without my product or service, what are the challenges and problems that they have? And what's the impact of that? And I when I'm working with people, I use 3 little words, which means that. When you put those words in, it takes you to a deeper level of impact.
So give me an example on that then.
So, for example, a company I was working with, they weren't hitting the sales targets. It was sales management, in fact, that I was doing for them. But they weren't hitting the sales targets, and because of that, there was all the implications with the value of the share price and so on, but within the company, people were leaving, which means that they have to be replaced, which means that they have to advertise, which costs money. They have to get CVs in. Someone has to go through them.
Which means that you've got to train new staff, which means that they won't be that effective when they start.
Yeah. which means that they also go back into this negative environment of low morale because they're not hitting their targets.
I like that. That's a really good piece of advice.
So you then put some money around that and you say, what's the cost of recruiting a new person? And how many people are you having to recruit each year? It's massive.
Gosh.
It's massive. And so when just for as an example, when I'm putting forward my solution in terms of what I can do for the company, it's a fraction of what it's costing them by sticking with the status quo. But it is my duty to get them to think about it by asking questions. So I do all of my research, I understand my client, understand those problems, the impact of the problems, and therefore in my initial marketing, I use that. And then when we're face to face, I ask questions and I get them to tell me. So good.
Do you have a process that you work through? Is there a series of steps that you work through when it comes to that strategy effectively?
Yeah, there is. You know, so this is why I was saying you can learn these steps, because it's establishing your credibility, it's raising their interest so that to a point where they're happy to answer your questions, and then it's getting an understanding of what their problems are, what they're facing, what are they trying to achieve. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve in this company? What's stopping you from getting there? What's the impact of that? And what does that mean? So let's quantify that in money terms, or let's quantify it in time.
Once again, it's identifying their pain points again, isn't it? And, you know, if I was to give you a resolution of that, what would it be worth to you within the business?
Yeah.
You say here you've got the 7 essential steps of the strategy to attract, convert and retain more of their ideal clients. So what are if you had to go, look, they are this, and this, and this, what are they?
First of all, set your goals and plan and have those written down.
Right, so set your goals and plan and write the damn thing down and put it somewhere we can find it.
Yeah. Identify your ideal client.
Who's your ideal client? You know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
In 10 seconds, when it comes to identifying, are we looking for someone who will benefit from the product or service that we've got?
If you've been in business for a while, you will have your best clients that you love working with, that pay you, that value what you do, they give you repeat, they give you referral business, and you love working with them.
And you want more of them.
And you want more of them.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that's 2. What's the third one?
Then you need to look and say, right, what is understanding your client, what are the problems, what's the impact, and then you create your marketing messages, which must get their attention, raise their interest, create a desire for them to want to do something, and then a call to action. Those 4 elements must be in all of your marketing, no matter what it is, video, email, whatever. Then it's about saying, right, if that's my message, how am I going to get it out there? What marketing activities am I going to put in place? And just in another example, a client of mine who's a lawyer, he was a lawyer, and he was promised if he increased the business he would get a bonus. He came and asked me to help, and we did exactly what I'm talking about so far, and he chose speaking engagements, but he went to places where his ideal clients would be to listen to what he had to say. He was on social media, and he posted articles that he knew would be valuable to his ideal client. He put articles into magazines that he knew his ideal client would read. He joined forums where he knew his ideal clients were. And the outcome of him putting everything into place was that he didn't just get a bonus, he was offered an equity partnership. So he is now. That
worked then, didn't it?
It did, and you know, even now when I meet him, I go, I can't believe that this has happened. So it's plan, goals, ideal client, get your message, a very clear message, so it resonates with the recipient, so they read it and go, that's me, I need to know more. Think about your multiple marketing strategy. And then think about when you get your face-to-face, what's your process of your sales conversation. Not product dumping, it's where you are taking someone from a position of interest to a position where they want to buy from you because they have identified the problems and the impact. Once you've got that client, you need to have a retention strategy in place to prevent the competition from stealing your clients. Ernst & Young did some research. 48% of clients will move to another provider because of apathy shown from the original provider.
Do you know what? It's been a real insight into listening to you today, and just going through that. What we always do, we're nearly at the end of the programme actually, and it's flown by, hasn't it?
It has.
And what we always do, we always ask our guests to look straight down camera number one, to tell us who they are. Okay. There's this one over here.
Okay.
There's the clue. And
yes,
the one that says one on it. And just to give us the key takeaways that any business should be remembering right now. So please say who you are, where you're from, and the key takeaways for our viewers on today's programme.
Okay.
Dilys, the airways are all yours.
Dilys Gayan. Have worked in sales and marketing for my whole life, really. Worked with big international corporates, but I'm now bringing my skills to the SME market, businesses who don't have sales and marketing departments or training departments to help with the sales effort. And your key takeaways really are: understand what you want to achieve, in other words, your goals and your plans, and have those written down and use them as a working document. This isn't about just writing it and leaving it. Work it and implement it. Understand your ideal client and make sure that you are then, because your marketing messages are resonating, you end up having a diary full of appointments with people that you want to work with. That will then lead with good, strong, strategic sales conversations where you're listening to the client and not doing all of the talking, where you're taking them from that position of interest to a position where they want to buy from you. And there are processes to learn, simple processes that you can then put in place, and have that strategy to be able to make sure that you keep your clients and also that you get referral business from them. And I think, as Steve mentioned earlier, it's really important to have a tracking and monitoring system in place so that you know which of your marketing activities are working and which ones aren't. And if you put these things into place, you will live a life that's stress-free, a life of abundance, and so on. You won't ever have to worry about where your next client's coming from.
Absolutely fantastic, Dilys. Great advice as well. It's strange actually, because I noticed that my director cut to me when you were saying about living a life that is stress-free and you won't have to worry again. Thank you very much for that. It's been a real insight. Just to remind you once again, if you just joined us, those three key things in reverse order. Mistake number 3 that most businesses make: they give up too soon. Don't give up. Don't take no for an answer. It's just maybe not right now. Mistake number 2, it's all about me. Don't get lost in that trap. So many businesses do. We've got 2 ears and we've got 1 mouth. Use them in that kind of proportion. Listen more and then talk. And that mistake number 1, it's all about, it's all tactics and no strategy. You've just got to be smart in what you're doing. The difference between strategy and tactics is how to make their tactics work better and more effectively by having a strategy. It really has to be done. I hope you have enjoyed today's show. Dilys, it's been an absolute insight. Can I thank you very much for coming on?
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. I've absolutely loved it.
Been our pleasure. And we hope you enjoyed today's show. And it's been a fascinating show. If you want to find out a little bit more about Dilys, you can go to her website. Let me show you the website here. I was looking for the triangle, actually. It's okay, don't worry, no rush. I was looking for the triangle. Right. I couldn't find the triangle, but we're going to have to buy you another red dress because you've got 2 now.
All right.
2 red dresses. But this is it. This is the site. Can we have a quick look at the site? There we go. They increase your sales in 30 days, attract the right clients, make more sales, increase your income. Nice video there from Dilys. 21 surefire ways. The book is a free download as well. Are you struggling to increase your sales, attract the type of customers you want, prospecting? We all are. If you're in business, we're all doing this, converting them into customers. Yes. Are you frustrated and stressed? Absolutely. Are you struggling to make sales targets? Then Dilys is going to be the lady that you need to talk to. Some great testimonials on the page as well. She's a public speaker as well. She does keynote speeches. If you want to find out more details, go to her website. It is Dilys Guyan, that's DYLISGUYAN.com to find out more about Dilys. Or, of course, if you found today's program absolutely absolutely fascinating, then what you can do is that you can go back and you can watch the programme again and pick up those really valuable nuggets of information that were in it. Listen, I hope you enjoyed today's show. Should we do the housekeeping, because we let Dilys go home then, because we've put her on the mark. As we said last week's show, we talked about the referendum coming up on next week's show. Our guest is going to be Steve Mills, the prudent marketeer. He's going to be explaining the dark arts of remarketing. We've got sponsorship opportunities for the program as well, and we've got some great guests coming up over the next couple of months. More details, if you go to our website, you'll find out who they are. Don't forget, if you're in the Cambridge area, roll those credits. We're on local TV, Cambridge TV, Freeview, Channel 8, and also Virgin Channel 159. Hey, till we do it all again next Monday, from Dilys and myself, Steve Allen, have a great week. And hey, we're still out of the EU. See you there. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.